Welcome, beautiful, beautiful soul. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's not a sexy subject. But here's the thing, as a woman, providing you live long enough, everyone's going to go through this at some point. Everyone is going to go through the menopause. And there's so much fear and so much kind of misinformation. And I was speaking to a friend the other day who's a coach who helps women deal with menstruation problems, period problems, because our bodies are such a finely tuned machine. But given the right circumstances, the right nourishment, the right environment, we are able to easily go through things like menstruation cycles, menopause. But I have been speaking to and hearing from quite a few women recently, people I know, people who I don't know, who said that some of the symptoms of brain fog was so severe that they actually feared they were going through dementia. And I also read a while ago that 1 in 10 women have quit their job due to menopause symptoms, which is really worrying, is really kind of scary. Now, apart from a few hot flushes and night sweats, I went through menopause, no weight gain, no stiffness, none of those things. And I honestly believe it is because I am conscious of my diet, my environment, and environment is not just where we are, but who we surround ourselves with things we listen to, things we read, all those kind of things, our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and because of my yoga practice. Now, menopause happens because of a change in hormone levels, particularly estrogen. The function of estrogen it's to regulate metabolism and weight, and it also has a big effect on our cognitive function, so basically the way our brain works, our bone health, and our cardiovascular system. So, and also menopause levels in testosterone change as well. And yes, women do have testosterone as well. Now, the thing is, there are some countries, some cultures that don't experience such extreme menopause symptoms. Some less developed countries, or like the Chinese, the Japanese, for example, they do not suffer, and notice the word suffer, menopause the way many of us do. So therefore, it is our modern lifestyle that is causing menstruation problems and severe menopause problems. So our diet, which nowadays is so full of processed foods. I mean, thing is, people don't think of things like sandwiches and like paninis, baguettes. We don't see that as processed food. But if you had or an alien and come down from outer space, you might recognize that berries, apples, bananas, and that were like fruit. They come from the earth. You could recognize they come from the earth. But you would look at a sandwich, and that's quite far from Mother Earth. And so if you take the average diet, a bowl of cereal for breakfast, which has got gluten, got man-made chemicals in, lots of sugars in, a sandwich for lunch, which, things like bread, especially white bread, can upset our insulin levels, our blood sugar levels. People don't think of things like white bread and white pasta as causing a sugar rush, but they actually do, because everything we eat converts into glucose. And things like white bread, white pasta, etc., can convert into glucose quite quickly. And then you maybe come home and have some pasta or something, and all these foods are man-made, literally. They're man-made. And I'm, my diet's not perfect, so, I'm not preaching to anyone here. But the thing is, our diet is contributing to strong hormone menopause symptoms. Modern lifestyle, stress, the fact that so many of us are stressed now, especially the last couple of years, we've been stressed around one thing or another, stressed around the cost of living, this, that, and the other. And the problem is, when we're becoming stressed, we're becoming worried, becoming anxious. And because lack of physical activity is so much less than it used to be, I mean, including me, most of us lead such sedentary lifestyles. We may be busy and we're equating busyness with activity, but the fact is we're not actually physically active. So we're creating all these stress hormones in the body, yet we're not physically doing anything to metabolize, to burn up these stress hormones. So they're circulating around the body, creating inflammation in the body and upsetting the balance, because the stress response is the body's way of getting you away from danger quickly, to give you a sudden burst of energy. And what it does is it diverts energy to your muscles so that you move, and it takes it away from your brain, so you're not thinking clearly. Because like, if you're about to cross the road and a car's coming around the corner, you need to be able to react like that. You don't want to be going, ooh, should I move out of the way? Or perhaps I should step backwards, or should I go forward? No, you need to be able to react instantly, and it gives you that extra burst of energy. But as I say, it diverts it away from your digestive system, which can cause or exacerbate digestive upsets. But what tends to happen in a situation where you're actually in real danger, like the crossing the road, you would move like Usain Bolt, and that in itself would help to metabolize the stress hormones. If you ever see an animal, watch a nature documentary, and you'll see an animal, say a zebra, it will have a burst of adrenaline to be able to run as fast as it can away from a lion, and then it'll have a few seconds and it might shake itself off as it literally metabolizes those stress hormones. The body comes back to a state of balance. But most of us now are living our lives in a constant state of high alert, of stress, but the things that we're stressing about aren't actually real dangers. We're not really in danger of being eaten, but we've got all these stress hormones going around our body, and we feel tired, although it's more like wired and drained, because we're not burning those hormones off. We're not burning those chemicals off. So we're also functioning from a state of adrenal overload, because the other thing is we've got constant stimulation now. We've got 24-hour television, 24-hour news, we've got a computer in our pocket, we've got social media, we've got this app, that app, we get notifications, emails, da, 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 da. So our brains are being constantly stimulated. And this is one of the reasons why so many people struggle to sit still and meditate, because their brain has got to the stage where it's literally addicted to being stimulated, and we cannot stand silence. I was waiting in the Chinese a few months ago, and everyone who came in, if they had to wait for a few minutes, they were on their phone. They couldn't just stand for a few minutes and do nothing. So our brains have got to the stage where they're literally addicted to constant stimulation, needing constant stimulation. So when we want to go to sleep, our brain's still going, and then we can't sleep, and lack of sleep can affect our hormones. So we've got ourselves stuck in this kind of like massive catch-22. There's also the fact that there's so many toxins and chemicals, stuff that's sprayed on our food, the products that we use. So anything we put on our body goes in our body. So face cream, shampoo, conditioner, body lotion, all these kind of things, plus the cleaning products. People nowadays have got this thing about using antibacterial sprays, which, as a side note, antibacterial sprays actually weaken your immune system, because we need we need to come into contact with a certain amount of germs and bacteria to strengthen our immune system. And because we're making our environment so sterile, our immune system is just can't cope. And now you're hearing all these stories of people's immune systems being weakened. It's like, yeah, you've done it to ourselves, unfortunately. So you've got all these kind of things, plus added onto that, the fact that obesity, people being overweight, about 8 in every 10 people are overweight to some degree or another, whether it's like a couple of stone or more. And being overweight, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that being overweight, because that affects your hormonal balance, because your body has to work harder. People who are overweight tend to experience more or worse rather, period pains and menopause symptoms. So we've got all this stuff going on, and we are not being given the information. We're not being given the information as to the fact that we are causing or exacerbating a lot of these symptoms. But the good news is, the other side of that is that we can do things to change that. We can make simpler lifestyle choices to change that. And I'm not against HRT, by the way. I just want women to know that there are other ways to deal with it, because the problem with something like HRT, and this is the same with any medication, if you take a medication for a problem, yet you do not deal with why you developed the problem in the first place, it might only be a part-time solution, and you might be kind of like postponing problems later down the line. It is far better to deal with what got you here in the first place, to deal with the cause of it. And the other thing is that a lot of women don't realize is that HRT itself comes with a whole heap of problems. I tried HRT, had a horrendous experience. I suffered extreme adrenaline overload, went into extreme anxiety, really deep depression in the space of a week. But that's just my story, because HRT itself is affecting the function of the body. Now, it's far better to try and balance your hormones naturally with your diet, with your exercise, with breathing, with the things that you do, than just kind of trying to fix the cause. But as I say, some people have taken HRT and it's done wonders for them, so I don't ever want to dissuade anyone. I just want to teach people that it's not the only answer, and you're far better off dealing with the cause. It's a bit like having a tree and trying to treat it for some disease, rather than like the disease comes from the roots and you're trying to spray something on it instead of fixing the soil. It's just like that. You might put it off for a little while, but it's probably going to keep coming back. Now, yoga practices are amazing. People tend to think, and I was the same before I got into yoga, people tend to think of yoga as just being like, you know, bending yourself into gymnastic poses. But the reason we put ourselves into these poses is to change our energy system. We've all got an energy system. We've all got an electromagnetic field. We all emit a certain frequency. And, you know, it's like if you go into a party, you gravitate towards someone, a certain person, and you'll be kind of like, oh, don't want to go into that person, because of the electromagnetic field, vibes, if you like, that they're emitting. The earth has an electromagnetic field. Everything has an electromagnetic field. And the positions we put ourselves in yoga is to realign your energy system. So it's not just about stretching and being able to touch your toes, it's realigning everything internally. So we are a finely tuned machine, and when our bodies are in balance, we can maintain optimum health throughout our whole life. Now, there are cultures out there who are not westernized, who are living and are healthy into their 90s because they don't eat processed food. They don't, you know, they get lots of exercise, they get lots of fresh air. And as I say, so many of the illnesses and diseases we have nowadays are literally man-made. We're making ourselves sick. And then we try and take medication, which is another unnatural toxin, basically, to fix a problem that we caused in the first place. So my mission is to try and show people that there is another way of dealing with things. If it doesn't work, you've tried. So I'm going to teach you a technique today called Shambhavi Mudra. It is also good for strengthening your eye muscles. So if you need glasses, or use glasses rather, it helps with that. It releases tension, it calms your mind, it reduces emotional stress and anger, and most of all, it activates your pineal gland. And your pineal gland, which is kind of like in the midbrain, a pea-like structure in your midbrain, is said to be one of the master glands and is associated with your third eye. And the main function of your pineal gland is to receive information about the dark light cycle and to produce melatonin and serotonin. So when the body produces melatonin, we feel sleepy, which is why it's really important to get sunlight as soon as you wake up, so your body goes, oh, it's daytime. And the third eye is our energy center associated with clarity, intuition, emotional intelligence. And I was saying on a class I did last night, everyone is intuitive. People tend to think it's a woo-woo thing, or it's just women's intuition. Actually, we're all intuitive. We've all, whether we realize it or not, had a moment where we're like, I just got a bad feeling about that. That's your intuition. That's intuition. And when people ask me, how do I know when it's my intuition and when it's not? If you think something, that's your ego, that's logic. If you think, well, I think this because of this. With your intuition, it's more a case of a And that's why I call them my moments, because it's like, something's not quite right. I don't know what it is, but So clarity, intuition, emotional intelligence, which is the ability to own your emotions. Perfect example of this is, instead of you made me angry, it's you did this, I reacted by being angry. I'm going to figure out why this happened. That's emotional intelligence. So an imbalance in your third eye point can result in delusion, hallucination, at a less extreme level, delusion in that you're not seeing things clearly. So you may think that someone's insulting you, for example, when actually they're not. So that, not seeing things clearly. Headaches, poor vision, a lack of clarity, so not knowing what you want to do, where you want to go, that brain fog, lack of concentration. Certain substances, for example, fluoride, can accumulate and calcify your pineal gland, a bit like limescale on your pineal gland. And that can affect your sleep-wake cycle. And also, as I said a moment ago, adrenal overload and stress affects our sleep because we get tired, although it's what I call above the neck tired. So we're kind of like tired, but we're not physically tired. And our brain is just, so we can't sleep. And that causes even more adrenal overload, etc. So we get stuck in a real catch-22. And lack of sleep, lack of quality sleep, can also cause or exacerbate hormonal imbalances. So it's such a fine, that's why I said environment. It's a whole thing, your whole literally life that we need to look at. So if we manage to balance our hormones or bring them into more of a state of a balance, then we can reduce menopause symptoms. And two of the things we want to balance most is our adrenals and our thyroid. So this exercise is kind of simple exercise. We're going to do like a couple of them to start with. You can sit cross-legged as I'm doing. I'm sitting on a bolster, or you can sit on a chair. The most important thing is that your spine is nice and straight, so you're kind of not slouching. I'm actually shouting, not slouching. It's called Shambhavi Mudra. Basically, eyebrower. Good Lord, what's going on with my brain today? Eyebrow center gazing. So basically, all you're going to do is you're going to imagine trying to look up and in towards this point associated with the third eye point, kind of up between your eyebrows, but you're going to keep your eyes open to start with. So you're going to start with your eyes open. You can rest your hands in your lap, palms upwards, keeping your spine upright, and your head, your chin just very slightly tilted. You don't want it tilting back, you don't want it sticking forward, but just very slightly lifted up. And just start to imagine bringing your eye gaze up to that point in the middle of your forehead, and you'll feel your eye muscles working. And you're going to hold it there for a few seconds, just inhaling, holding the breath in, keep focusing on that point. So you might see that my eyes look kind of like a bit cross-eyed. Feel your eye muscles working. When you need to exhale, slowly close your eyes, relax your eye gaze, and breathe all the way out, breathing in and out through the nose. At the end of the exhale, again, you open your eyes, you're breathing in, you're starting to turn as if you're literally trying to look at that space between your eyebrows. Again, you'll feel your eye muscles working, and it might feel like it's straining to start with because you're not used to it. Again, when you need to breathe out, softly close your eyes, relax your eyes as you let the breath. Remember, practice makes progress. At the end of the exhale, again, opening your eyes. You want to keep your head still and just look at that space. So starting to look, you can imagine if you like that it's slightly in front of you, and then imagine trying to literally look at the space here, feel your eye muscles, and you literally feel your eye muscles working. Holding the breath in. Don't wait till you're gasping for breath. Just hold it in as long as you can. Again, when you need to exhale, softly close your eyes. Relax your eyes as you let the breath out. And you can practice that. It says you can start with 5 rounds. So doing that 5 times. And then gradually increase to 10 times over a period of a month. And it says, physically, Shambhavi Mudra strengthens the eye muscles, releases accumulated tension in this area. Mentally, it calms the mind, moving emotional stress and anger. It develops concentration, mental stability, and the state of thoughtlessness. Now, we tend to think of thoughtlessness as being not caring, but thoughtlessness as in your mind not going, this, that, and the other. Did I remember to do this? Which is what we want to attain, really. Regular practice of Shambhavi Mudra retards degeneration of the pineal gland, and is therefore recommended for children from the age of 8 onwards to balance their emotional development. Now, another little practice that I will teach you is called Mula Bandha. Muladhara chakra is our roots, and there's something called cerebral spinal fluid, which flows in and around the hollow spaces of the brain and the spinal cord, and in between two of the meninges, which are thin layers of tissue that cover and protect the brain and spinal cord. And yes, I did read that off my notes because I couldn't remember that bit. I know what it is, but I couldn't remember the word meninges. So it's basically fluid that flows up your spine all the way up to your pineal gland, and it's said to flow up about once or twice a day to kind of flush out your pineal gland. But when you practice Mula Bandha, it increases the flow of cerebral spinal fluid. So you're kind of hydrating your pineal gland when you do that. And it's kind of quite simple. Again, practice makes progress. All you do as you breathe in, you start to pull up your pelvic floor muscles. Now imagine your pelvic floor muscles as kind of like a straw, and you're kind of drawing in and up. And to find your pelvic floor muscles, imagine you've just been on a long journey, you're bursting for a wee, you're about to put the key in the door, and you go, and you're pulling in your pelvic floor muscles to stop yourself peeing. So imagine drawing in and up. And then imagine lifting your belly button in and up. And then as you do that, squeeze those muscles and visualize squeezing literally from your tailbone upwards. And you can visualize that cerebral spinal fluid, like white light energy, flowing up your spine. So do it with your eyes closed. Visualize little liquid light flowing up your spine, all the way up through your throat, all the way up to the center of your brain, holding that breath for as long as you can. Again, without gasping, just holding it there. As you're holding it, focus your awareness inwards as if you're looking right at the center of your brain, and you can visualize a little circle of white light energy there. And exhaling and letting the breath out. And do that 4 or 5 times. So breathing in, focusing on your tailbone as you start to breathe in. Again, draw your pelvic floor muscles in and up. Draw your belly button in and literally squeeze. Squeeze and visualize squeezing out, like squeezing out a sponge. And visualize that white light energy flowing up your spine all the way up to your midbrain. And as you're doing this, you can turn your inner eye gaze in and up towards that third eye point, holding it there. And remember, visualization is a really powerful tool because your brain can't tell the difference between what you're imagining and what is actually happening. So what you're visualizing is actually happening. Again, holding your inner gaze at that point, visualizing a circle of white light energy in your midbrain. And when you need to, slowly breathing out. So you're kind of practicing Shambhavi Mudra, but with the eyes closed as you do that. And you can do that a few times. Again, visualize as if there's like a straw or an ethereal tube running up from your tailbone all the way up to your midbrain, and like drawing fluid up a straw, you're squeezing and drawing that cerebral spinal fluid up all the way up from your tailbone, flushing out, kind of rehydrating your pineal gland. Visualize it like a sponge that, you know, only gets a bit of fluid once a day, but doing this, you're kind of flushing it out, you're giving it more fluid, which is going to help the function and flow of your pineal gland. And again, you can do that 5 to 10 times and practice every day. You know, often us humans, we give up because we try something once or twice and it's like, well, it doesn't work. But you know, you need to try these things over a period of time. And this only takes what, a couple of minutes? So you could try this even a couple of times a day. In the morning, do a couple of breaths, do a couple of Shambhavi, looking up towards your eye, mid eye point, third eye point. I'll get it right in a second. My brain will work in a second. So you inhale, turning your eye gaze up, so you're going almost cross-eyed, feeling your muscles working. When you need to exhale, softly close your eyes as you relax the eyes. As you breathe all the way out, repeat that 5 to 10 times. Then practicing Mula Bandha, inhaling, drawing your pelvic floor muscles in and up, drawing your tummy muscles in and up, squeezing and visualizing fluid flowing up from your tailbone, up to your third eye point. Visualize holding that light there. And again, when you need to, don't get to the point where you're gasping for breath, but when you need to, gently exhaling. And you can do that literally in a couple of minutes. Practice that a couple of times a day. And as I say, apart from hot flushes and a few night sweats, I didn't suffer any of the other symptoms that people talk about. As I didn't get any weight gain. I was hoping for some weight gain, didn't happen. I didn't have any aches or pains, absolutely nothing. So if you want proof that yoga practices work, then here I am, because I've been through the menopause, it's been and gone, finished, done and dusted, and I'm still here. I was about to say quite sane, but that's debatable. But I still got my sense of humour. So I hope this has been of some help to you. Thank you, beautiful soul. Enjoy the rest of your day.